Hey guys, welcome back to more political chatter. Today we will be talking about the state of the 2024 Senate election, specifically the Senate election in the state of Maine. Yesterday we had a Democrat announce, only the second Democrat in the race to announce their candidacy. Both are nobodies, especially the first one to announce. I can't even remember his name. He was somebody's staffer or something, someone in Congress. However, this other nobody, Graham Platner, he is a bit different. This is just a tweet that he sent out just today. And you could basically get the gist of what he is all about. And I've been saying, as so many progressives in Congress and prominent progressives have been saying, the Democratic Party, it should not be it should not be hard for them to win elections. All they have to do is stay relentlessly focused on an economic agenda and, again, relentlessly focused on working people's needs. That's all you have to do. It should not be this hard to beat Republicans, but for some reason it is. As Bernie Sanders said, why did Kamala Harris lose? It's because midway through the campaign, her corporate donors kind of took charge of the campaign and completely changed her messaging. They didn't allow her to connect with working people at all. However, this candidate in Maine, Graham Platner, that's what he's all about. He is vehemently anti-oligarchy. That's what he's running on, and basically associating that and corruption and exploitation with Susan Collins, the Republican incumbent there in Maine. He's also, point blank, unapologetically pro Palestine. That is not something you often see with Democratic candidates, but this is the way to win. As you could see when you go on his website, he has a wide range of policy proposals. Look at this. You could, right here, right? Statement after statement after statement, what he wants to do in Congress: ban billionaires from buying elections, rebuild our failing healthcare system. He's pro Medicare for all, universal healthcare. This is not something, even as something as simple as a policy page, as you see here. This is not something you see with establishment Democrats. You look on Chuck Schumer's campaign website, you are not going to see this. Other establishment picks, Haley Stevens in Michigan, Roy Cooper in North Carolina, Chris Pappas in New Hampshire. You won't see pages like this. So, point being, this is a new kind of Democratic era, and it is, I feel, very reminiscent of the 2024 Senate race in Nebraska, where you had Dan Osborn, a local union leader, a left-leaning, obviously he was president of a union or something with Kellogg's, I think, and he ran as an independent in the race. Now, I'm sure he votes Democrat down ballot probably every election, just based off his politics, but this was a good political move. Nebraska is deep red. Republican voters are going to be much more willing to vote for an independent rather than a Democrat. Dan Osborn ran as an independent, was endorsed by the Nebraska Democratic Party, or at least they didn't run a candidate, and he got within 7% of winning. It was an absolute shock to the system. 7 points when Harris lost that election, Nebraska at large, by 20. He outpaced Kamala Harris by 13 percentage points. Absolutely insane. And Graham Platner is running his campaign, Osborne is or was relentlessly focused on an economic agenda. He never wavered from it. It was always pro labor. It was always, pro union. It was always anti oligarch, anti billionaire, pro little guy, pro common man. And that is what allowed Dan Osborn to do so well in this race. And it's what Graham Platner is trying to cook up in Maine. Unapologetic about his views. And it should be even easier than Maine, right? Nebraska is tough because it's Nebraska. Even if you're independent, it would be hard to beat someone who is a Republican. Because of just how deep red it is. People are going to vote Republican. But Maine is a state where Democrats should already control Susan Collins' seat, but they don't. Kamala Harris won in 2024 by 7 percentage points, 6.9%. But for whatever reason, Susan Collins is the senator. When you look back at her last election, which was in 2020, on the same ballot where Joe Biden won the state of Maine by what, 8, 9 points, Susan Collins shocked the system and won by 8.5. Nobody saw this coming. It was supposed to be a pretty close race, but the Democrat was supposed to be ahead. In no one's even imagination was Susan Collins winning by 9 percentage points when you round. That was an absolute. That was probably the biggest shock of any single race in the 2020 election. But it was when you look at this race in Maine, it pretty much makes sense. You had a high turnout election with lots of independents in Maine, and Sarah Gideon, she is more of an establishment type, more of a establishment pick, sort of candidate. Handpicked by congressional Democrats and independents in Maine who are turning out in a high propensity election didn't or sorry, a low propensity election, meaning more low propensity voters came out, they didn't really find a reason to vote for someone they weren't familiar with, like Sarah Gideon. She didn't offer them a reason to vote for her. But if Graham Platner gets his message out, I guarantee you he will win. I don't know anything about elections. I just talk about it, but I can guarantee you this. Graham Platner will trounce Susan Collins if he is the nominee. If Democrats do not nominate this man, it will be the biggest mistake of their life. The single biggest mistake of congressional Democrats in 2026. And I could honestly see this. That's the sad thing. I could see Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, lost in their establishment delusion, thinking that they should, put in some more corporate, more establishmenty pick, thinking that they have a better chance at winning. If Graham Plattner's the nominee, he will beat Susan Collins, and this will be a crucial flip for Democrats, which they desperately, desperately need in 2026. This is the map of toss-up states right now. You have got, you've got Michigan and Georgia, which are controlled by Democrats. So basically, the majority is out of the question, right? Or I should include Ohio too. Um, but you've got the majority is out of the question for Democrats. But you've got Michigan and Georgia that are controlled by the Democrats right now. Gary Peters in Michigan, he's retiring, and John Ossoff in Georgia, he's running for reelection. But in the other three, Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine, those are all Republican incumbents. Democrats do have the opportunity to pick those three off, all three of them. They are on track if they nominate McMorrow or El Sayed in Michigan. They are on track to win Michigan. If they nominate Haley Stevens, they'll probably lose. John Ossoff, I think we can all agree, is on track to win in Georgia. Nothing is pointing otherwise. And then you've got North Carolina, Roy Cooper, very strong Democrat in the race. You've got Ohio. I think it's going to Republicans, so I'm going to just for the sake of the video, just to show how close this could get, I'm just characterizing it as Democrat. Someone will screenshot it, I'm sure, and say I'm predicting that Sherrod Brown will win. No, um, I don't think that right now, but it's absolutely a possibility with Sherrod Brown in the race, and then you have Maine. If Platner wins there, then boom, you're at 50-50. Now you're in a real good position come 2028 if it's another Democratic favored year. So when you look at this is my prediction race by race. I have Georgia, Ossoff winning by 1, Michigan, El Sayed winning by 2. Sorry, this is outdated. This was before um El Sayed announced his candidacy. I do think he will win the primary. You've got North Carolina, Roy Cooper. He will win by 4 as of now. And then out of the 4 lean Democratic states, the candidate that I am most bullish on winning, more than Roy Cooper, more than El Sayed or McMorrow or Stevens, more than John Ossoff, is Graham Platner. This is the direction that Democrats need to go in. Blue collar, working class. That is how you win back elections. That is how you win back Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Iowa. The list goes on and on. Maybe it costs you Georgia and North Carolina, and you know, Arizona and Florida in the process, but in the end, it will not matter, because you're going to be winning back traditionally Democratic states, these more blue collar working class states. Um, so yeah, that's where I think things stand right now. This is my prediction as of now. What do I have? Oh, I have to update Ohio. This was before Brown jumped in the race. I'm thinking it's a 3-point win right now for the Republicans in Ohio. This is where I'm thinking it goes right now. Also, I talked about Nebraska. Look at Nebraska in 2026. Um, Whatever. Can't find it. But Dan Osborn is running again in 2026, so that should be interesting as well. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. Leave a comment to let me hear your thoughts on this topic, and I will see you all later.